Welcome to the finale of season 1 of Rise from the Shadows. On our previous episode, you heard 3 tremendous messages. Jason Womack, he talked about leading humans being, Sejal Thacker with unconscious bias, and Jeff Reyes with the grind and shine. Today, we have 3 more powerful messages to inspire you heading into the holiday season and the new year. First up, we have a senior non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force, Mary Polanco. She's going to talk to us about listening to the quiet. Before we get to Mary Polanco, if you enjoyed the Shadows podcast, we encourage you to head over to theshadowspodcast.com. Leave us a review. Trust me, your feedback matters, and the more we get, the more we can continue to spread these amazing messages to more people. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Polanco.
My name is Mary Polanco, Chief Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. I have almost 23 years of active duty service, about to retire. I have held a lot of different positions, different Air Force specialty codes in my career. My most recent was as the Senior Enlisted Advisor for the Air Force Integrated Resilience Office up at Headquarters Air Force. I am married to my biggest supporter, my husband, who is a tennis instructor, and we have 2 children together, a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. So today I wanted to share a little bit about my story and about what I have come to be my truth with taking care of myself. There's been so many great motivational and inspirational sayings that I've heard throughout my career to really set a great reminder of why it was important to self-care, to take care of myself, my energy, things like that. I remember the first time I heard the one about putting your mask on first. So quite frankly, I think that was possibly in a comedy film I was watching, but this premise that you really aren't any good to anybody unless you're breathing oxygen and you're able to help. And so that really stuck with me, and I thought it was profound. And, since then, there have been others that I use to help me really remind myself. The one most recently that I was talking to a friend about was, when 2 chefs are cutting tomatoes, and at one point, both of their knives become dull. One goes off and takes the time to sharpen the knife so that they can come back and cut their tomatoes better. And the other one keeps going because they don't want to make up that time. They don't want to miss the time. And so they continue on, and what ends up happening, as you can predict, is the one who sharpens his knife comes back and is cutting those tomatoes faster, sharper, with more precision, and is getting the job done so much better. And that is the truest analogy to what we do every day. So if we know some of these things to be true, why is it so difficult for us to really make that time to devote to our own well-being? And I think through my story, my journey, and the things that I've discovered, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of answers to that question. I was in the Air Force for when I retire, which is upcoming officially, 23 years. And I would say the better part of probably 17 or 18 years, I was in a constant, perpetual state of motion. I was going at every turn. There was no time to let up. I think I convinced myself that I had made the time, that I had really, made sure I was taking care of all 4 pillars of my wellness, which, as we learn and as we talk about, are emotional or mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And I think that I was being deliberate in my very type A way to say, yes, I am making sure that I'm spending time with family. I am making sure that I spend time with friends, that I'm getting in the gym, I'm doing my workouts. I am, taking time for myself. But it wasn't really until I sort of hit that pinnacle moment in my career and life where I realized I wasn't truly doing that. I would say probably around 2000 and late 2018, most of 2019, I started to feel the sort of physical symptoms of what was going on in my life. I would say that I probably dealt with anxiety for probably a decade. But it wasn't until the physical symptoms started to kick in where I started to feel like there was something else going on. There was something that I wasn't able to either distract myself with through all the busy work or push down any longer. I had left a very, very busy job where I was a superintendent, and there was, constant day. The day was filled with putting out fires and administrative tasks and working through personnel issues, and it was just constant. And I had put myself in this position I was there for about 2.5 years of constantly going. And when I left that, my next job was very opposite, complete 180, where it was a step away. It was very uncomfortable. I look back and I can speak with this clarity now about what I experienced, but while I was going through it, I really didn't know what was going on. But I remember leaving that very busy job, and the pendulum had swung completely to the other side, and I didn't like it. I knew I didn't like the total chaos of the busy, but I also didn't like the quiet. I didn't like only having to deal with myself, because when I was in this new position now, which was essentially a professional development opportunity where I was stepped away from the Air Force for a year, and I was a student of my environment. That was my job. My job was to learn about the things going on around me so that I can take that back to the Air Force. But there was so much, it was such a 180 that I questioned everything about myself. I questioned, what did I bring to this new job? Was I worthy? I had what they call imposter syndrome. Like, I think they made a bad mistake here putting me in this job. Just all these uncertain things that were going through my head. And that's because I came from a position where I was pretty established. I knew what I was doing. I knew how the system was running. I was able to help where I could help, things like that. But I think essentially, that's what it's all about, of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. It's uncomfortable. And that's exactly what I was experiencing, except it went one step further. And the one step further was that it was very, very quiet. And I did not have anything to distract me. Now, at the time, this felt like a curse. This felt terrible. I remember just feeling constant chest pressure. I felt shortness of breath. I could not my body would not take a deep breath. And I thought there was something wrong with my lungs. I thought there was something physically wrong with me, which there was essentially, but it was triggered by mental issues, mental capacity that I was dealing with. And so I ignored all those symptoms for a good year because I thought, okay, well, this is only for a year. That will change. Things will go back to quote unquote normal, and then I will feel like myself again. But after I left that position and went back to the Air Force and back to another job, it didn't go away. In fact, it got worse. I really started to feel, not only was I feeling the chest pressure and the anxiety, but now I wasn't finding joy in anything I used to find joy in. I wasn't doing my hobby anymore. I was having trouble doing more than 2-3 tasks a day. And also, by the way, COVID hit, and I was teleworking now in my basement, home with my family, 2 kids, a husband, and this was unprecedented. This was never how my life was. And second grade math is really hard. I was just struggling very hard with all the things. And I just realized, now I'm in this new job. I'm a new chief. I am new to the position, and just all of this pressure that was placed upon me. And I really just took a step back and said, I think now's the time, if ever there was, to take a knee, put my hand up, surrender to it, and say, I'm going to need some assistance through this, because none of my coping mechanisms were working like I wanted them or like they used to. And so I did. I made the call, and I sought out mental health. I started therapy. I started medication. Things started to turn around. It wasn't until I truly started to dive into the work that I needed to figure out what was going on. Why was I feeling the things I was feeling? I really am that type of person. I want to understand so that I could either move through it or figure out, how am I going to live with this? And so I started the work, and I think that's what has changed my life, is the personal development that I really dove into. We are surrounded in our careers with opportunities for professional development. There might be times where we call things personal development, but if in the conversation you are talking about career or you're talking about progression in that arena, to me, that is not personal development. Personal development is you working on you. You thinking about a vision for your life, thinking about your goals for your life and how you want to live and what your purpose is. Those are things that I am on a mission to uncover and to discover so that I could truly live the life I was meant to live. When I started doing that, that's when things started to subside. I started to feel like I could breathe again. I started to feel like I was finding out who I was for the first time. I attribute so much to my military career. I mean, really, all of my professional development has come from my opportunities that I have gained through the Air Force. I attribute my personal development now to the work that I've done. Really diving in, journaling, vision writing, vision planning, goal setting, things like that, and answering the hard questions. For me, a lot of that was when I was going through that, why am I feeling this way? What is it that I'm ignoring for myself? And truly, for my journey, I was ignoring that I had bigger life goals than what were set out in front of me. I felt like in large part there was this pathway set out in front of me that was already established and I had no say, which was totally false. We have all the say. That's it. We have all the say. And so I really started to say, look back, now that I look back on that time in my life, the anxiety, the stress, the depression, that was a gift. It was my greatest gift because it allowed me to say, take a knee, because you have no other choice. You can't function right now. So you're no good to yourself. You're no good to your kids, your airmen, your boss, the mission. You are no good if you cannot take a knee. And so I did that. And in fact, that allowed me to pull back and say, I'm not ready or mentally capable for the next position, which allowed me to then really breathe and reflect. And I started doing that in every aspect of my life. I started to put me first. I started to establish routines that allowed me the time and space to have the clarity that I needed so that I can go after the things that I want. And that to me now is what self-care is. Self-care is about you deciding that you are your number one priority. That's it. It's a non-negotiable. Moving my body every day is a non-negotiable. Reading my vision, non-negotiable. Personal development, see where I'm going with this? Non-negotiable. Those are things that are a part of my day, just as if a non-negotiable for you would be brushing your teeth or taking a shower or having a shake or whatever it is that you do on a routine basis, because that's what you've established in your day. Those are my non-negotiables now. And when I don't do them, if I start to slip back into some of those old habits of putting everybody else in front of me, I start to notice my mood change, the anxiety rise, those things that creep back in. So that is how I define and how I've established self-care for myself now. It's a non-negotiable. Whatever that looks like for you, find it, live it, be it, because it will change your life. The small habits that you change every day turn into large life changes overall. And I cannot encourage that enough for you. There is nothing on this planet more important than yourself, your health, your happiness, and your joy. Nothing. There is nothing else. Because without those things, you are not able to give to the people you love in the way that you have always dreamed of giving to them. So put yourself first. It's not selfish. It's self-care.
The Lima Charlie Network is a group of thought leaders and podcasters with the goals of improving ourselves,
inspiring and educating others, and bringing valuable conversations to both military and civilian audiences.
Our vision is to empower others to reach new heights in leadership,
self-development, and communication by connecting our audience to crucial conversations.
Focused on sharing tools, ideas, and perspectives for impactful improvement.
A one-stop shop for aspiring and seasoned leaders alike to gain from the experiences and knowledge of others.
We aren't just a network of colleagues, we are family.
And we invite you to come and join us on this journey.
And we look forward to delivering invaluable information to you loud and clear.
All right, I want to welcome everybody back to Rise from the Shadows, day 2 of our season finale. And you just listened to an awesome message delivered by Mary Polanco, who I would like to welcome now to Rise from the Shadows. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited, especially since I think we were connected through Craig Neary.
Yes.
I believe. Yep. And we were connected. He's awesome, by the way.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. A light.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And he connected us, and we got you to actually speak at the AFSA ELC back in, what was that, July?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
July. And you went up and spoke, and you were in the middle of like some stacked briefers. Chief Bass was there, I believe Chief Wright, retired Chief Simmons was there. There was just so many great briefers, and you got up there, and when you finished, you had this long line. It was like meeting Mickey Mouse, the line of people that wanted to come up and talk to you. It was incredible. And I think we had our next briefer coming up next, and we had to kind of tell people like, hey, if you would like to talk to her, you need to step outside of the ballroom because we got to stay on schedule.
We did. We got kicked out.
And I think I was even trying to have a word with you, and I was running it and I couldn't even get to you. So it was awesome to see the impact that you had on people there. And then when I started putting together my finale for Rise from the Shadows, I actually think you were the first person I reached out to, because I was like, I see the impact you made on people. So what better person to have on here for the finale? So first of all, I just want to say thank you for, not only speaking there, but also taking time to do this here today. And I love the sweater, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Well, it is almost Christmas, and I'm very Christmassy.
Yeah, she's wearing a Bah Humpug shirt with a pug on it.
Yep, and I have a pug on it, and that's a tribute to my baby Bo, who we lost a few years ago after 12 years of having him.
I'm sorry.
So no, yeah, but it's just, I think it's my Christmas sweater for him.
Little homage to him, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Awesome brief. And, one of the things you really talked about was working on ourselves, our personal development. And you and I were talking before we hit record. it's so easy for people to promote professional development opportunities. You see it all the time on virtual or, at our local organizations and so forth. But why do you think personal development is so hard for people to master?
Well, I think that anything intangible is difficult. I think when you have something that you can see, touch, feel, whatever it is, it's a lot easier and more objective to be able to say, yeah, I'm hitting the mark on that. For example, the PT test for the military, when you can visibly see, first of all, the individual, are they fit looking? You can visibly see what they get on their score. And those things is like, okay, now I need to work on XYZ. Whereas personal development is it's so intrinsic, it's so abstract, and it's kind of scary. I think we all come from so many different walks of life that even for a second, stopping and diving into what might need attention is too overwhelming. And so a lot of us, especially in my line of work with the military, with you all understand this, we get distracted with the busy, and it's easier to just throw ourselves into that. And than it is to kind of take a step back. And so I think it's just overall more difficult because it's unseen.
Yeah, we were talking too about how, for the new year, especially the time this episode airs, people listening to this, they may be sitting on the couch with just relaxing, unwinding. They may be on a long ride. They may be on a walk or a run, but they're already thinking about, it's a new year. Am I going to be able to fit into my workout? This pair of jeans, I got to fit into this pair that I love so much. I've got to start dieting. I've got to start working out. I'm going to Planet Fitness and getting my membership. But you rarely hear people say, like, the first, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to start working on my mindset. I'm going to start working on further developing me. Why do you think, you talked about the pillars. Why do you think that physical domain is so much more, prevalent than the emotional domain?
Well, right off the bat, it's a requirement for our employment. And I think that that's one of the things that, for us to be able to stay ready for the mission, stay ready for the fight, stay ready for folks, because physical, all four are so equally important.
Yeah.
And I think it gets more time in the spotlight for some of the reasons that I listed, but also because we have to physically be capable and ready physically, right? Where we say we need to be mentally ready, but how can I measure that on you? There's certain things that we see that could be pretty apparent, but overall, can I fake not being able to do 30 push-ups? No, I can't. I physically can't fake that. Can I fake being in a good mood? Yep, sure can. And so I think that there is a completely different dynamic when it comes to that. Everybody, if there's one thing I can say to you as you head towards 2022 and you're starting to look at it's great. I love, some people are way against New Year's resolutions, but I'm not. I love the deliberate time people take to say, what do I want to do? I think it's probably the one time the majority of the population sets goals.
Yeah.
So I say go
biggest
for
goal
it.
setting day of the year.
It really is. It really is. But I think that if I had to choose, which you don't have to, but if you had to choose because you feel so overwhelmed with everything going on, I would say devote the first month to mindset. Devote the first month to reading something new. Because when we read something new, we gather new thoughts. New thoughts help us make new decisions. And so read something new, spend 5 minutes a day don't overwhelm yourself. Don't go out and run 8 miles January 2nd. There's no need to do that. Start with a plan that you can stick to, and I think that is something that, because when I was at my lowest, and I mentioned a little bit of this in the talk, but when I was at my lowest, I couldn't work out. I didn't have it in me to spend 30 minutes on the treadmill. And if I didn't do 30 minutes, if I only did 5, I failed, right? In my mind, I failed. And so all I did was for weeks was I took 5 to 10 minutes a day just to sit with myself, with a planner, with positive affirmations. That's it. That's it. That's all I did. And it catapulted an entirely new life for me because I started there. I didn't start achieving day one every single goal I set out for.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And, another thing I want to ask you about too is mental health has been a hot topic, especially once COVID. I would say really once COVID kicked off is when you started seeing a lot more people talk about mental health. And now to where it's at the point where I've had so many guests come on here, and 10 years ago, they would have never said, yes, I go to mental health. They just would not do it. And because of their career, because of the way people are going to perceive them. But now people wear that like a badge of honor. It's like, yes, I go to mental health. I go to mental health. And, some of the best mentors in my career, they go to mental health as well. And I, people who are like, yeah, I'm taking my kids to talk to someone because being a kid is tough. It is really, really hard. And where do you see, especially the way things are starting to progress with that becoming more normalized, where do you see mental health in about 5 years from now?
Well, I hope that mental health is changed in a way where it's not reactionary, where it's part of the preparation for life aspect on the left. And I would love to see it because mental health, when we say it, we know that means the clinic. We say, I'm going to mental health. That means I'm going to the clinic. I'm going to see a provider who's likely a psychologist or a psychiatrist and is going to help me through some of the issues that are happening now or help me reverse some of this damage. What I'd like to see is more of the conversation happens way earlier. I recall I went to the DoD suicide prevention conference a couple years back, well before COVID. And I got the privilege to sit in with the task force lead of the DoD suicide prevention task force. And I recall her asking us, like, she was talking to us about what their plans are, because it's not just a DoD problem. This is a national problem. This is a global problem. And I recall, she was asking us, do you have any questions or whatnot? Anyway, I got to ask her a question, and I asked her, how can we start to embed these life skills into our kindergartners? Like, why can't we start there? The first entry into the school system, when you're interacting with others, teach them how to lean on each other, how to give feedback, receive feedback, communicate, share their feelings, like, et cetera, et cetera. And they were already thinking of that. I mean, I wasn't surprised at that because this woman's brilliant, but that was really important. And I think that that's what I want to see tomorrow and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, is to have people not even get to a place the majority of the time when they have to go seek a professional's help, right? Because all the personal development that I talked about at the conference, or I share everywhere, you have it within you to at least maintain. I sought mental health because I was just at a complete loss. I didn't know which direction to go in, and I had physical symptoms that were preventing me from functioning. And I needed that help. And the medication subsided all of the physical symptoms that I was having, so that I could start to center in and start to sit with myself in silence. And so everybody's journey is different, but I'm so grateful that I did that.
Yeah. Mine was the same. Mine was just, I was anxiety, just as you mentioned during your brief. Anxiety was definitely starting to take control of certain things, but it was like, you know what, let me go. People hire somebody to help them work on their pecs and deltoids. Let me get somebody to talk to me and help me with my mind. So yeah, definitely really good advice. That would be good if they start younger and kind of normalize it from the get-go.
And if I can jump in on your analogy real quick, it's a great analogy, because if we hire a personal trainer, likely we're not with that personal trainer 7 days a week. It's probably once or twice a week that we meet with them. So what are we doing those other 5 days? we have to be maintaining and doing something. And that's where personal development comes in. Those other days when you're not with your therapist, what are you doing to really gift yourself that time and space so you figure it out?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah. And and with the new year, with, National Goal Setting Day, January 1st, New Year's resolutions right around the corner. What are some examples of healthy boundaries that people can set for themselves?
I think the first thing that you should realize about boundaries is what's not working for you. And it's easy. That might sound easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds, because you have to, sometimes we keep people in our lives, just in general, that's one aspect of it. We keep people in our lives out of obligation. We keep them in our lives because they've either always been there, or what would happen if I no longer wanted to communicate with this individual, even though this individual brings me nothing but sorrow and sadness and stress. There's this whole obligatory baggage that we carry for relationships like that. But if you don't acknowledge, is this serving me in a positive, healthy way towards what I actually want to do with my life? And if the answer is no, it's not, then you really need to start putting that on the list of things of how to either resolve or move on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that healthy relationships has got to be one of the most important things I think people don't acknowledge enough. Having healthy relationships. But to set boundaries for yourself, you have to know what it is that you're looking for. And I think that's why the very first question people need to be able to answer is, what do you want? And I will tell you, I have asked that question to at least 30 people in the last year, and maybe one person could answer it right off the jump. And I said, but if you don't know, why don't you know what you want? Because I just don't have time to think about that. There's so much going on. Okay, understood. Lived the life, been there, got the t-shirt. But if you can't answer that question, that's like walking into a barista and standing there looking at the barista and saying, I know I want coffee, but great, we have like 50 different kinds. Can you tell me what you like? I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. Then what that barista is going to say is, would you kindly step to the side, because I have lots of people behind you that are ready to order.
Yeah.
And to me, since I have been really diving very heavily into my spiritual pillar, which I've neglected for 20 years, that barista is the universe for me. That's the source energy. That's important to me, right? Whatever that is to you, it's all for the taking. Everything you want in life is for the taking, but you have to be able to answer that question. What do you want? And so I think how do I get there? How do I know? Okay, well, then you start with answering these questions. What are you doing when you feel most at peace? What are you doing when you feel happiest? Who's with you? What's the setting? Where are you? Like all of those details, you can answer those questions, I would think, right? You start there, and then you start to piece together this puzzle of, wow, I really love woodworking. I mean, I know that it's my hobby and I know I enjoy doing it, but I light up in a different way when I'm doing it. Okay, then that might be part of the what do I want answer, right? So it's just really, it's a process, but you got to start by just giving yourself a few minutes a day to kind of uncover that, because I will tell you, it is noisy out there. It's so noisy.
Yeah.
And when I'm writing a book and it's about this, and when I stepped away, like I said in the talk, I stepped away and everything hurt. It was so quiet. I hated it. It just was pain. You know, that deafening silence, like where
you don't know what to do.
You
feel
don't
like
know
something's wrong.
It was awful, but out of that came everything. So
kudos to you for writing a book, and definitely once you start, getting it published and getting it out there, let us know. We will definitely promote it here on the show. And speaking of books, what book recommendations do you have for those listeners out there that get the nice Books A Million or Amazon cards in their stockings this holiday season, and they want to go load up and finally, purchase some of those books they got sitting in their cart? What are some book recommendations you have for people?
So I have a book recommendation. It's called The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO. And if you're ready to believe that you're capable, then you're capable of more. If you're ready to believe in that, then this book it changed my life. And it's also on audio, which is how I listened to it. That's how I quote unquote read it, was audio. Yep. And it just allowed the time and space I needed to hear. And it was like every other sentence was like a mic drop. And I'm like, oh, God, this book, who is this person? And so I highly recommend. And then another one that I like is called You Are a Badass. And it's a bestseller. Great book, right? And it's a reminder that you can put the fluff aside. You can, I've been dubbed a sunshine pumper at times. And so I know I'm a little bit on the eternal optimist side.
Yeah.
And even if you're not there are reminders in that book that everyone needs.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely have both of those books. I'm actually going to check out Saint Surfer and the CEO. You kind of sold me on it right there. The audio. I'm looking for a good audio book. And then the fact that you really plug the audio piece of it, I'm going to check that out. Well, ma'am, I can't thank you enough for taking time to do this. You have a retirement coming up really soon here in the military. So thank you for your service. Thank you for all the years that you've put in. And if anyone would like to find out more information about you, where can they go to?
I am on LinkedIn, Mary Polanco. And yeah, I think that's probably, I'm building a website. So can I come back and plug that?
Absolutely.
So it's basically like my website is going to be like our 4 pillars. It's like the one stop, go find it all. But no, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Mary Polanco Designs. You can find me out there on the web.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, we're going to have you come back for a full episode of the Shadows podcast, and y'all actually get to hear like her full story. I got little snippets of it at the pack. It's entertaining hearing you talk about yourself and things you've been through. So I definitely look forward to having you come back for that. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to run a little ad. When we come back, we're going to have Demetrius Booth briefing for you.
Yo, what's up? This is Joe from the Llama Lounge podcast, a proud member of the Lima Charlie Network. If you are interested in listening to diverse conversations about all things life, learning, and leadership between leaders and experts in the military as well as across the civilian industry, follow the Llama Lounge on all podcast platforms and Llama Leadership on all social media outlets. And visit our website at llama-leadership.com. New episodes post every Tuesday. We cannot wait to have you join us. In the meantime, be safe, stay healthy, and keep growing. Llamas out.
Right. I would like to thank Mary Polanco for taking time to be here on Rise from the Shadows. Next, we have my former commandant at the Enlisted Professional Military Education Instructor course and is a current Senior Noncommissioned Officer in the United States Air Force, Demetrius Booth. He's going to talk to us today about something majority, if not all of us, struggle with, which is being present. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for Demetrius Booth to deliver his powerful message here.
In the middle of the road of my life, I awoke in a dark wood where the true way was wholly lost. Dante's Inferno. So there I was. Because all great stories start with, so there I was. Standing on stage with 400 plus people waiting anxiously for me to begin. And for about the space of a minute and a half, I said nothing. I could almost sense the secondhand embarrassment settling in on everyone out there. Maybe they were thinking, why isn't he saying anything? Oh my God, this dude just forgot what he was supposed to say. How embarrassing. Oh my God, can we get this thing going already? And in that space, I took it all in. I allowed all of my emotions to flow through and into me and then out of me. Fear, anxiousness, joy, happiness, disbelief that I was on this illustrious platform. In addition to that, I scanned the room. I tried my best to make eye contact with as many people as I could. And I just took it all in. If you tuned in here today because you believe that I have the power to change something in your life, or that I'm capable of giving you something to relieve all of your woes, or better still, that I have the key to power change necessary to get rid of all your life ills, then you should probably hit the stop button now. Because the truth is that I can't. But what I can do is connect you to the person who can. That's why we're here today. That's why we showed up, because I'm your connective guide to link you with the person who can unlock and unleash the power that you need to create change and solve your problems right here in this place where you are. And the only toll required for this journey is that while we're here together, that you give yourself permission to be present. So, did you catch it? Please tell me you caught it. That word that I used, that you didn't pay much attention to when this podcast began, because it's so subtle, ambiguous, and carelessly used, and it's always around. As a matter of fact, I used it 4 times in the first 2 minutes, and you may still not have caught it. The word is here. And it is much more than a geographical location or where we place something. It is a state of being. You just so happen in this moment to be here. And here is very different for all of us. Even if I placed all of you in the same room, viewing the same things, hearing the same sounds, and presumably having the same experience, everything can be very different for all of us here. No matter where you go, it's the one thing you can't escape. And you probably guessed it. Here. And if we aren't careful and we aren't paying attention, we can get caught in a pain loop here. Because we experience pain, and then we experience pain, and we experience pain. And for some of us, we may take another step where we experience pain, and then we'll reflect on it. And we may believe that reflection will lead to some progress. Only to realize that we've slipped back inside of that loop of pain and reflection. The equation kind of sort of feels like pain plus reflection equals progress. But that equation is flawed. It never allows us to take the necessary step forward. But even when we move forward, we're still here. The better equation sort of looks and feels like pain plus reflection multiplied by positive action equals progress. But what should we be paying attention to while we're here? I offer you that we should pay attention to going into the moment, being in the moment, and then leaving that moment. And this succession of moments connect to create memory and life as we know it. this represents the 3 states of being. And these 3 stages happen no matter who we are or what we happen to be. But there has to be some level of intentionality while we're here. And those questions that we should ask ourselves link right back into those 3 states, going into a moment. What am I going to learn here? Being in that moment, what am I learning here? And then when we leave the moment, what was I supposed to learn here? This helps us move in, through, and out of every moment we live in a much more meaningful way. If you want to be better, live to the fullest, reach further, then you have to pay attention to here. That's what makes life so rich. That's what connects people to joy in the most authentic way. That going in, there's this sense of richness for the moment. And they capture it like lightning in the bottle. And then being there, they are ultra aware to soak it all up, to enjoy the experience. The love, the pain, the happiness, the frustration, the joy, the fear, the peace. And as we move from one place to the next, there is this meaningful connection to that information. So what is here for you? What does it mean to be here? I am going to create the cylinder for a reflective moment. And feel free to take as long as you need. I am going to give you the space to pause this moment that we are sharing and consider, reflect upon. Where are you? What are your emotions? What are your dreams and aspirations? What is your state of being here? Go ahead. Hit pause. I'll be right here where you left me, waiting until you get back. So, what did you discover? What did you surface here? Have you been making the most of these moments that you have here? If not, what are you going to do about it? Have you connected to life in the most meaningful way? If you're unsure, what will you change? I told you the reason that we came here together is not so that I could correct all of your life problems. Nah, that is absolutely not why we came. I told you that this place where we are, I was going to connect you to the person who has the ability to adjust, to fix, to correct, to make whole. Well, I would like to introduce you to yourself. Because here is the place where you realize just how powerful you are. And that you are the key to unlock and unleash every powerful moment that you need. I just so happen to be blessed to be the gentle voice to remind you of how powerful you are. So, what are you going to learn here? What are you learning here? And what were you supposed to learn here? As you head back into the world, as this moment we just shared concludes, be sensitive to that inner voice that is slowly rapping at the door, gently speaking to you, being ever persistent. Listen to that voice that warns you, that beckons to you, that speaks to you in the softest way. That voice is who I was sent here to introduce you to. And then be persistent. That inner voice knows and is more connected to everything here than you could ever imagine. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. The one rule of great storytelling is that you got to have some closure and you have to bring folks full circle. And so you're probably wondering, what happened on stage? What did you say? How was it received? After I had taken the moment in, I broke what they believed to be the awkward silence. I thanked them for being present and willing to share this moment of their life with me, and that I wanted to take it all in because I didn't know how many more times I would be able to grace this stage, and that for most of my life, I had just been ferried from one moment to the next, and I never really connected with it. And so this time, I wanted to pause, to feel it, to be present. And then I thanked them again. And then I started the speech that I was there to give. This is your commencement. In the middle of the road of my life, I awoke in a dark wood where the true way was wholly lost. The truth is that you are not lost at all. You're here.
What is up, good people? Josh White here from the Hero Front Podcast, and I want to thank you for taking a minute to hear what I'm all about. Look, if you stop by Hero Front, you're going to hear inspirational stories from some of the greatest heroes around the world. This includes leaders in business, inspiring authors, innovative entrepreneurs, and motivational speakers. Now, the one thing that they all have in common is they will all share stories of resilience, and their hope is to inspire those struggling with their mental health or looking to step up their game to the next level. Some of these heroes you are very familiar with, and others you have never heard of them until now. Speaking from personal experience, I have struggled greatly and failed many, many times. My goal to you, the listener, the viewer, is to inspire you, to give you that purpose that I was searching for all my life, to give you the tools to succeed, to let you know that you are not alone, and to hopefully give you the courage to take that first step. You're not alone, I got your back. So come on by the Hero Front Podcast every Wednesday, and we'll get after it together.
Welcome back to Rise from the Shadows, everybody. We are here with, I'm calling Chief Booth, but Demetrius Booth. Sir, thank you so much for that powerful message, and welcome to Rise from the Shadows.
Oh, no, man, it's my absolute pleasure, Bodie. It's about time you got me on, man. I was getting jealous, all of that goodness that was pouring out of your podcast. So it's an honor to finally be a part of it.
Good things come to those who wait. I was actually telling you before we hit record that Joshua Stewart was on episode 2, who was part of our awesome cadre that we had going to EPMEIC when you were kind of steering the ship. And we're currently still over there working together. But I told him whenever he came on, I was like, I'd already had kind of like my list of who all I wanted on the show, and I told him, I was like, Chief, I have circled for my finale. He's the one. He's like the main event. You're the main event of the Rise from the Shadows. So you'd been slotted in that main event slot since since the beginning. I'm just glad to finally see it play itself out here.
Yeah, me too. So I guess it's a good thing I didn't call you up and bug you. Like, hey, when you gonna put me on? When you gonna blast your
basically
emails and stuff?
Yeah. You were like the MJ of the lineup. So Stuart was like my BJ Armstrong.
Got it.
So
got it.
All right. So your message, very powerful. You're talking about a little bit of self-awareness mixed in there, being present, being here. Very powerful. I love the way you deliver your messages. I've talked to you about it before, how you kind of take people on that roller coaster with your words. But being present, what does that mean to you?
So for me, this year, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreas cancer. And in the process of her being diagnosed, the one thing I shared with my family is that I was given the gift of time. And not so much so that I got more of it, but that I was given the gift of time in the sense of I was able to appreciate it, prioritize how I spent the moments of my life, and then choose to be ultra present. And when I started to do that, like, it changed everything. Like, I mean, everything. There are moments where folks are like, hey, can we get you to come and do this? I can't this time, but I have somebody who can. Because I'm tied to what I want to be known for. And in this moment of my life, it is important for me to be there, be present, and be with my mom. So much so that I won't even fly to Chicago from Columbus, Mississippi. I drive every time so that I can shed all of the madness that is my life here. So when I'm there with her, I'm present. And as I transition back to here, I can slowly let go of some of the angst and pressure and constraints that I have being there with her, so that I can be present when I arrive back here in Mississippi.
Yeah, you said 9 hours, right?
Yeah, 9-hour drive, 9.5. And so for me to be present means to be here, and not only to just be here, to be aware of everything around me, and then that next layer, to be connected to it all. That there's so much happening around us all the time that we are not connected to, and we miss out on all the time. And so being connected to everything that I am here and present with, that I can be aware of, that is what's important to me now.
Yeah, and you and I have had these conversations even back when you were here. And, with one of the lessons I was teaching, 5 gears, which is, one of the lessons that Giant, sponsor of the show, has. Absolutely. And we were talking about how, just really, not falling into the distractions that we have. And it's so easy to be distracted nowadays with so many things. We're such a fast-paced society. And I'd seen the same thing too with, I remember when I tested for tech and I missed it. And my daughter had told me, she said, and Becton was young at that time, and she said, wow, you did all that for nothing, missed all that time with me for nothing. And she was like 8 or 7. And it was a huge slap in the face for me. And I was like, wow, I've got to start just savoring a Tuesday afternoon at the house, just doing nothing, just hanging out with them. Yeah. And, we talked about being present. You can be in the same vicinity as someone and not be present with them. Why do you think it is such a tough task? Because it's such a simple message: be present with people around you. But even like COVID, and I can guarantee you the holidays, someone probably listening to this is on the road travel. They're probably making that 9-hour commute somewhere to be with family. They're going to get there. Everybody at that house is together, but they're not present with each other. Why do you think it's so hard for people to master?
Because we've been told over and over again that we can multitask.
Which we cannot.
So you cannot.
Yeah.
But this is like a deeply held false belief that we can multitask, that I can be in a room with you, Bodie, and be on my phone, be playing a harmonica and sending a message from my keyboard on my computer and still hear.
And you repeat one word back, and I'm supposed to believe you're listening to me.
Right. The last word that you said is the one that I give you. And so we have been drawn into this belief system that we can multitask. And it's because we've been over inundated. Constant stimulus, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, phones ringing, everything that we could want or need at our fingertips at all time. And because of that, it becomes like awkward to be in a room with someone, to look them in the eye, to have a conversation. And that ability and that art to do so is starting to diminish as we continue to be plugged in, per se.
And unfortunately, you know, like for the situation, and you know, my definitely my heart goes out to you and your family for everything that y'all are going through right now. But you and I were talking on the phone a couple of days ago. We were just catching up, and we were talking about how oftentimes we wait until we get unfortunate news or until something happens for us to be intentional with our time with those individuals that we care about. What message would you have for our audience heading into the holidays about, as you called it, intentionality?
That the truth is, and I'm gonna quote Einstein, that time or our concept of it, that we have this stubbornly persistent belief about time, that it's linear in nature. And the truth is that all you have is this moment right now. That's it. That is the only thing that actually exists. Yes, we can make plans for Christmas and Christmas Eve and New Year's and Easter, and I'll see you again this summer. But the truth is that we have right now, and that's it. And if we can understand that, then we begin to appreciate this moment right now. Remember that you are mortal. Right now is all that you have.
Yep. And there was a quote that I had heard before. It was, you know, what is it was referring to like our real life screen time. You know how you can go up to your kids. I can guarantee you, if you go up to your kids and you ask them about their screen time, you know what I'm talking about. You'd be like, how much time have you been on your phone today? And they always lowball it. They're always like, oh, an hour and a half. And then you check it and they're like 5 hours. No, it was from yesterday as well. Yeah. But like, what is your real life screen time with your family? And this is something for our audience to really think about, is how much time is your family getting that undivided attention, that eye contact with you, you being there, you being here, being present with them, versus one of these electronic devices. And just think about it when you're sitting around with them. Like, does family get leftovers and everything else get the main entree that is your life? So definitely encourage them to be aware of that. Final question for you: book recommendations for our audience. I know you got some good ones.
So I'll give two, because I know that there are a lot of good ones out there. The first one would be the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. A really good book, and it focuses in on being impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Those are the four agreements that you have with yourself. And then my second, but my all-time favorite book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I absolutely love that book. The journey that Santiago goes on, I connect with, and it resonated with me. And there's this line in the book that says that when you're en route to your own personal destiny or your own personal legend, that the whole world conspires. And so those two books I would always and anytime recommend to anyone.
It's funny you said Alchemist. Teresa read that book about a week ago. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
My absolute favorite.
It is sitting on the bookshelf. It is on my to-do list. Well, sir, I think the world of you. You know that I'm doing this podcast and I'm doing all the things in my career largely in part to your influence and your guidance that, you provided to me as my commandant over at EPMIC. And I would say not just commandant, but mentor, friend, advisor, fill in the blank with so many other different roles. So personally, I want to thank you for being on here. And I already told you we're going to get you back for a full Shadows episode coming up in 2022. So thank you.
You're very welcome, man. Thank you. I'm honored that you would tag me to jump in and be a part of this illustrious platform.
Will do. Well, thank you so much. And folks, stay tuned. We have one more briefer coming up after this break.
Most people go through life aiming at nothing and hit it with amazing accuracy. And they find themselves just feeling stuck in a rut, wondering if this is all there is. And I'm here to tell you, no, it is not. And life is too dang short to live it stuck in a rut. So check out beyondtherut.com and listen to episodes of other people who are also feeling stuck in a rut, asking themselves the same questions you are around their faith, their family, their fitness, their finances, and just their outlook on future possibility. And there, we hope that you are encouraged and inspired to make your own path and live life beyond the rut. So again, go check out beyondtherut.com, where you can find blog posts and podcast episodes, as well as some tools to help you design the targets you wish to hit in life in those 5 F's: faith, family, fitness, finances, and future possibility. Because again, life is too dang short to live it stuck in a rut. Now go check it out.
Beyond the rut. Where do we send the royalties? That is done. It's yours.
Thank you, Demetrius Booth. We have one final briefer left before we wrap up this first season of Rise from the Shadows. And when the Shadows podcast was just getting started, I was able to connect with a former Shark Tank winner, Kim Meckwood. She epitomized tenacity, perseverance. She got rejected 6 times on Shark Tank, but on the 7th time, she got the green light and she took the most of that opportunity and she made a deal with the Sharks. She has a phenomenal product called Click and Carry. I definitely encourage all of our listeners to go out there and check out Click and Carry. And she's also a cancer survivor. So ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to have my friend Kim Meckwood to wrap up season 1 of Rise from the Shadows.
Hi, my name is Kim Meckwood, and I was asked here by Bodhi of the Amazing Shadows podcast to tell you about my journey through persistence. So here I am telling you about why it pays to be persistent. And I have to say that my motto is no is just no for now. I assume that Bodhi asked me here because it turns out that I hold the record of 7 or 8 times in attempting to get onto Shark Tank. I finally made it. I was on just last year. Actually, we're approaching my year anniversary. It was December 11th. It was season 12, episode 8, if you want to catch it on Hulu, but we'll talk more about that later. So I went on Shark Tank with my product, Click and Carry. Click and Carry is a simple bag handle. It's a handle device that allows shoppers to manage and carry multiple bags at once comfortably, either in your hands, you carry it like a handle, or you wear it over your shoulder and you're hands-free. And it's super duper easy. You twist it open and you load handle bags onto each side. Each side takes 40 pounds for a total of 80, or as many as you can fit. And we'll discuss later about all of the different uses, but I invented it because I used to live in a condo where I had to go up the stairs and through multiple doors. It was like competing in an obstacle course to get to the front door or the finish line. So I knew there had to be a better way, and I came up with Click and Carry. And I used to talk about this idea, and I used to draw iterations of it. And finally, one day at work, one of my friends said, will you shut up and stop talking about it and do something about it? So I did. And I worked with a product designer. She was a student at the Pasadena Design School. And I went through 9 iterations. Talk about persistence. I mean, I knew that my first invention wasn't the right one. So we continued on until we found the winner. And simultaneously, I actually ended up getting breast cancer. And when you go through a journey like breast cancer, you realize how fragile life can be. And I decided it's time to go for it. So I put everything I had into it. I saved up all my money after the surgery so that I could quit my job and to do Click and Carry full time. So after that, I filed for patents, and I had no idea how long the patent process was. It took almost 3 years to get my second utility patent. The first patent took a year and a half because at the time there was a lull in the economy. So the United States Patent and Trademark Office wasn't staffed at normal capacity. So when you hear about overnight sensations, I don't think that there are any such thing as an overnight sensation, because I could tell you my personal journey took about 10 years and a lot of attempts to get on Shark Tank. So let's see, I'm peeking at my notes a little bit here. Let's see. I did have some initial success. I was able to quit my job for about 3 years and do Click and Carry full time. And that was because I went to this amazing trade show in Chicago called the Home and Houseware Show, where I was discovered by QVC, which was an amazing adventure in and of itself. But I had to go back to work. And that was a hard decision, but I had to pay my bills. So I continued to work on Click and Carry and work full time. And the journey's not an easy one, I'll tell you that, but you have to just keep moving forward, continue to move forward. And ultimately, that led to the pinnacle of me being selected for Shark Tank. So I don't know if I should be embarrassed or proud that it took me 7 or 8 attempts to get on the show, but I finally made it, and it really did change my life, because that kind of publicity was just monumental to me and to my business. It really put Click and Carry on the map. I ended up having both the most exciting and scariest day of my whole life. In fact, I was so nervous, I actually ran out of saliva. It was a lot of fun. The 50 minutes that I was in the tank was edited down to 8.5. And it was basically 50 minutes of terror, to be perfectly honest. But I had a great time. I was living my dream. I had dreamed about this moment for so long. And I think that's why I ran out of saliva, because I took it so seriously. I was just so thrilled to be there. And I think it shows on TV. I ended up making a deal with Mark and Barbara, which is awesome. And that leads me to now. So here I am a year later, and I'm actually making a huge decision. I'm going to rent out my condo and move back to my hometown, where it's a lot less expensive to have a business. Plus, I have my family and friends here who can help me inexpensively with my business. I hope they know what they're in for. But I'm diving all in. It's been 30 years since I'm leaving California, and I'm off to this new journey. I'm doing it, and this would allow me to have additional money so that I could reinvest it into my 2 new inventions that are coming out in 2022. They're both attachments to the Click and Carry. So be sure to stop back into either my website, clickandcarry.com, or through Bodhi's amazing podcast, the Shadows podcast, to see any updates. But I have 2 new inventions coming in early 2022 that I hope that you'll love. And the moral of the story is, remember that no is just no for now. Don't take no for an answer. Just keep going, because really no is just no for now. Keep going. Eventually that no will turn into a yes. And another thing is, please ignore the naysayers. If you have something that you feel you want to bring to the world, just go for it. Don't listen to the naysayers who are going to try to put you down or say, oh, that's a bad idea. If you know that it's a great idea and you believe in yourself, you need to just go for it. And finally, I just want to say, I made a new Click and Carry. It's actually a pink ribbon breast cancer Click and Carry. And I made this because I'm a 2-time survivor now. I just actually finished radiation in August of this year. And I'm giving back a percentage of the proceeds to the NBCC, which is the National Breast Cancer Coalition. So you'll find this on my website. So thank you, and good luck to all of you. Remember, no is just no for now.
Hey, Shadows listeners, if you're looking to make some extra income that also impacts people, then you need to look at becoming a certified leadership coach with Giant. If you don't already know,
Giant has been in the leadership space for over 13 years. I got certified through Giant in 2018, and I've been teaching ever since. Just to give you some context, they used to own and operate the John Maxwell brands. They ran the LeaderCast conferences where Jim Collins, Henry Cloud, Malcolm Gladwell, and Simon Sinek, just to name a few, were regular speakers. They have over 500 coaches worldwide, working in over 127 countries, and are being hired by companies like Google, Chick-fil-A, Pfizer, Delta, and more. And yes, you can do this too. I know this might sound intimidating, but Giant will literally give you everything you need to start your own coaching business from scratch. You get hands-on training from top-level coaches to learn the exact methodology and tools that six-figure coaches are using. You get an all-in-one online platform to run your entire coaching business, even if you want to work 100% remotely. And you'll get to join a thriving community of coaches from all around the world. To get started, Giant is hosting a coaching business workshop to help you learn the ins and outs of how to build a successful coaching business. This is both for experienced coaches, consultants, and those who are looking to start coaching and consulting with little to no experience. If you want to hear the really good news, this whole workshop, it's free, 100% free. And you can reserve your spot by going to giant.tv/shadows. Why not give it a shot? What's better than making a positive change in people's lives and making some extra money in the process? Giant launches a new hiring cohort every month. Now, they only have 20 coaching slots available each month, so it's first come, first serve. So go ahead and make sure you reserve your spot. If you're ready to make an impact and get paid doing it, go to giant.tv/shadows, giant.tv/shadows. All right, I want to welcome everybody back. I'm here with Kim Meckwood, one of my favorite people to talk to since I've started doing this whole Shark Tank. I'll scratch that. So one of my favorite people to talk to since I started doing Shadows. We connected. She was on episode 19, which you can listen to episode in its entirety at shadowspodcast.com. On Shark Tank, she was on season 12, episode 8. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So go fire it off on Hulu. Is it still on Hulu?
It is. It should be there.
Okay. So yeah, definitely. So that's what you should do. You should go watch it on Hulu. Then after you've seen her, then you go you listen to the Shadows episode, and then you go back and re-listen to this one all over again. But how is everything for you in Pennsylvania right now?
Everything has been great. I actually moved home for a bit because I was receiving a huge order of click and carries, and I was going to store them in my sister's basement because it was free. That's the benefit about being in Pennsylvania. It's a lot less expensive than Los Angeles, and I have my family to help me, and they've been just amazing. But it turns out you can't deliver a full container to a residential area. I didn't know that, but luckily I'm from such a nice small town. I put a post out on Facebook and I asked if anyone had a loading dock and a forklift that I could rent for a few days. And I ended up getting a whole bunch of offers, actually about 9 offers of places to store my product. So now I have a new 3PL, which is a distribution center. And the irony is that the guys who let me store my product at their warehouse and they actually ship it for me, turns out that their mom and my mom are best friends and have been since high school. So that's the beauty of a small town. And now I have a whole bunch of click and carries. So I'm ready to sell.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Yeah. How's everything with click and carry going into the holidays?
Things are going great. I can't stop looking at Amazon. I never really thought that Amazon was going to be a really big channel for me. I always thought getting into the retail doors is the way to go. But Amazon has been awesome, which is great. It gives me peace of mind because I know I'm going to make a consistent income. So all of the retailers that I get on board, that's just bonus. So my goal for the past year was to get into as many retailers as humanly possible. And knock wood, I'm getting a lot of results with that. And I've been lucky. I'm actually just finishing up onboarding for Lowe's.com. I'm not in the stores yet, but hopefully it goes really well on Lowe's. And if it does, then eventually I will be in the stores. So wish me luck.
Yeah, and I will tell our listeners, like, definitely go out, purchase some of these. I'm not going to say one of these, get several, because I was telling her before we started recording, I was at Universal this past weekend and we had some bags, and I'm walking around carrying these things, and the bags, and I'm not saying I have like brittle hands or anything, but like the bags and we were talking about those wiry handles that they have. It was just digging into my hand, and I felt like I was carrying like 30-pound dumbbells in these bags. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, geez, I need a click and carry right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's what I was thinking. So definitely go grab some. They're good for groceries. They're good for, like I said, theme parks if you're going there with a family. But tell our listeners, really cool video that someone shared on Instagram that you and I've talked about several times. Total game changer for somebody.
Oh, sure. So first of all, I feel really lucky that Click and Carry does help people. And I designed it for groceries because I needed some help because I live in a condo and getting up to my place was like competing in an obstacle course. But the funny thing is I found out that it's used for so many other reasons, like it's a ski boot tote, it's for dry cleaning, it's for paint cans and construction pails, it's for sports equipment. And then once you get it home, you could use it as a stand for your phone and iPad. But recently on Instagram, I was approached by someone who has rheumatoid arthritis, and she asked me if I would send her a sample. So I gladly did, and it ended up being beneficial to her. And then another one of her followers contacted me and said, "Oh, I just saw this." I said, "Do you think it will work for me?" She said, "I have some deformities." So I sent her a Click and Carry, and she made me this awesome video. It was pretty amazing. She, I'm kind of getting a little teared up. She has one arm that cuts off before the elbow, and her other hand has really bad arthritis in it. And she's able to use the Click and Carry on her arm, and she calls it her little arm. And this video it's pretty amazing. It just makes me really proud and happy. And she's happy because she's able to help her husband, and she can easily use her shoulder with the Click and Carries. And she makes me all these videos, and every time I see it, I just melt.
It was awesome because she had the grip on her arm. And I think she said something like, "I'm ready to go to the store," or something like that, or ready to go shopping. Yeah, so that is awesome. And what we listened to your message there, and first of all, thank you for being willing to do that, especially considering as busy as you are, as much as you have going on. Where do you think you get that, not taking no for an answer attitude from? Because you went on Shark Tank, what was it, 7 times?
7 or 8 times. I actually, it might be more. I don't know if I should be proud or embarrassed, but
no, that's an awesome message. Like, you did not take no for an answer. Where do you think you get that mentality from?
I've always been competitive, but I feel like if you don't try, you're never going to succeed. And if you don't take that risk, you're doomed, and it's not a fun life. So I knew that I had something special, and I don't think it's a game changer. And I'm hoping that in the future I'll invent a game changer, but it really does make people's lives a little bit easier. So I really want to get that message out there. And I knew that I needed that kind of exposure to get onto Shark Tank because I didn't have a lot of money to promote it. And you either have to be this young, hot supermodel influencer to really get the word out, or this was an amazing platform for me. So I didn't give up. And plus I love that show. And as far as in my life, I've always been that way. I don't stop. I've always been in sales, and I've always tried to be first in my class at school, maybe not as much in college, but that's just who I am. That's just how I was born, competitive.
Well, when you first came on the Shadows, it was kind of fresh off of being on Shark Tank. In that time period, what's like the biggest thing you've learned about yourself?
Oh boy. I would say that I get more joy of giving back. So, for example, I talked about this to people who asked me for a sample. I think nothing of sending them a sample and making life a little bit better.
Yeah.
I was asked by the United States Patent and Trademark Office to speak twice. That to me is the coolest thing, because my biggest accomplishment is getting 2 utility patents. So they asked me to speak twice last year in March and April, and I love it. I love speaking to people, and the people I was speaking to, they were amazing. They work at the PTRC, which is the Patent and Trademark Resource Centers, centers. So there are libraries across the country. There is at least one in each state, and these librarians are taught how to help people like me who want to invent something, how to search for a patent, how to draw their renderings for a patent. Basically, they're mini lawyers who teach them how to do a patent themselves, or refer them to an attorney. So I love speaking. So that's probably one of the things I found most important as a result of Shark Tank, because I ended up getting a bunch of opportunities and speaking to college classes and even grade school classes. That to me is fun. And my favorite thing about Shark Tank is I meet with this group of other Shark Tank contestants, usually weekly, and we have best practices sessions or a mastermind. And I absolutely love it. I love not replicating a problem that they had in the past. I can ask them if I have an issue, and chances are someone in our group has been there, done that, and they could advise me before I make a critical error. So it's been a blessing all around. The Shark Tank thing has been phenomenal.
Wow, that's awesome. This is kind of cool, because this is kind of like Shark Tank listeners out there will know what I'm talking about, where they do the flashback and it shows them like previously on Shark Tank, and it shows like what they're doing now. So that's kind of like one of these here on the Shadows. So that's really cool. Well, final comments for our listeners going into the holidays. We're about 2-3 days out before the holiday season. So what comments do you have for our listeners?
First of all, I'd like to say happy holidays. If you need some stocking stuffers, Click and Carry is the only way to go. And the most important thing is we're coming up on the new year, right? And it's time to make resolutions. I'll say it again. No is just no for now. If you have a dream or you have something that you believe in, make your resolution to bring it to life in January 2022, and good luck.
Yeah. And I'm not just telling our audience to go get one because you're on here, but you've seen, I've used it for walking dogs. You can use them for working out. You get some resistance bands working out at home. They're really good for handles for that. Like I said, I could have used one at the theme park and bringing in groceries. I will come into the house, grab one, go back out to the car if I forgot it, and just load them up and then try to get it with one carry. And it pretty much works. So definitely go check her out on Instagram. Where can they find you on Instagram?
It's at Click and Carry, and I will be sure to make sure that I reuse Bodie's amazing videos, because he did do one with resistance bands for me and one walking the dog, and they're awesome. So I'll make sure that they're up at the time you see this podcast.
I saw the resistance band one, and I've lost a little bit of weight since that video. So
great. You are doing great. I promise you.
You aired it and I was like, oh my gosh, that was pandemic kicking off there, huh? But no, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to do this. I can't thank you enough. I already think you're awesome.
And I think the same of you, Bodie, just so you know. I'm so impressed by you and how smart and talented you are. And I feel like we've become friends over this past year. So I feel really lucky to have you in my friend group.
I got called smart and awesome by somebody with 2 patents and been on Shark Tank. That's a win for me. Well, thank you very much for being on this episode of Rise from the Shadows.
Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Joe Bogdan from the Llama Leadership Team and co-host of the Llama Lounge podcast. And I wanted to share with you this amazing opportunity to become a published author and become a fire starter. Does the thought of collaborating and connecting with a diverse group of creative thought leaders appeal to you? Well, it did to me, and joining the Firestarters book project was an amazingly easy and fun way to get my feet wet in the published author space. Shay and Christine made it so easy to navigate through the publishing realm and gave me the blessed opportunity to share my story with the world, and they would love to do the same for you. They are seeking aspiring authors like you to collaborate with them, and the best part is that they are going to do all of the hard work for you. All you have to do is commit to the process. You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. So join the team by visiting firestartersbookproject.com and tell them Joe sent you. It will change your life for the better, I promise.
All right. Thank you, Kim Meckwood, for that awesome message. And I would personally like to thank each and every person, all the way back to episode 1 of Rise from the Shadows with Nina Troy Rowe-Miller, all the way up to Kim Meckwood. I would like to thank everybody who's taken time out of their schedules and been willing to be a little vulnerable here on Rise from the Shadows and tell their story. So from my heart, honestly, thank you very much. And whether you have been with us since day one or you're a new listener to the show, we encourage you all to head over to theshadowspodcast.com. Check out all of our Shadows Podcast episodes. New episodes are available each and every Thursday. Rise from the Shadows will be returning in July with all new briefers. Also, while you're over at our website, help us spread the word of these amazing messages and leave us a review. Trust me, they do matter. Once again, thank you to everyone, and have a safe and happy holiday season and a happy new year. We'll see you in July with a new Rise from the Shadows.